Lots of people have told you that the Gear S3 has apps and an app store, and maybe they've shown you highlights from a couple apps. But you want to see all of the built-in apps and all their features? Then you've come to the right place. You get to your apps by pressing the home button when you're at the watch face. The first option you'll see is a recent app shortcut to quickly switch between apps or close them. To navigate through your apps, just rotate the bezel or swipe left or right with your finger. A long press anywhere on the screen will allow you to delete apps by tapping on them, or rearrange them by long pressing and dragging. Let's start with the Contacts app because that app will pop up multiple times in other apps. When you open this app, you'll see your favorite contacts at the top, followed by an alphabetical list further down. If you scroll quickly, you can search by letter, which is great if you're some super popular person with loads of contacts. Tapping on a contact lets you either call or text them. And if you scroll to the top of the contacts list, you can type in a name if you'd rather search that way. Once you start typing, you can tap the down arrow to see multiple suggestions. Tapping the magnifying glass will show the same results. The very first thing you should know about the Messages app is that it only works with Samsung's built-in messenger. Third-party messengers or even built-in messengers on other Android phones won't work. You'll still get notifications from those apps and be able to reply to those messages from the notifications, but you won't have a dedicated messages section to read all of the recent messages. Now that the disclaimer is out of the way, let's see what the app can do. At the top, you have the choice to compose a new message or look up a contact. If you compose a new message and you have a phone plan specifically for your Gear S3, you can choose to send the message either from the Gear S3's number or your phone's number. You can then choose a recipient by starting to type their name or number, then tapping the name when it comes up. You can also see a drop-down of multiple matches. If you don't feel like typing the name, you can just tap the Contacts icon to open the Contacts app and select someone from there. Once you've selected a contact, you get 4 different message options. The first is to send a preset message. If you don't see what you want, you can add or edit preset messages by tapping the plus icon at the bottom. This will open up the editor on your phone where you can make any changes you want. If you're replying to someone instead of writing a new message, you'll also get contextual responses in blue that change based on what the last text was about. When you tap a message to send, it will send it immediately, so make sure you tap the right one. If you scroll to the top, you'll get 3 other options. The first is voice to text, which works pretty good in quiet settings, but not the best in loud environments. It also recognizes things like smiley face and new paragraph. Just tap send when you're done. If you want to speak in a different language, just tap the 3 dots, tap Input Languages, then scroll down to the language you want to speak in, and tap that. There are currently 15 languages to choose from, and I haven't found a way to add any more voice recognition languages yet, but if I do, I'll write an article about it on the Techisode TV website. If you want to manually enter some text or fix something in the message, just tap the area you want to fix, and you'll jump to that part of the message and be given a few more input options. The first is to write with your finger. You can write whole words at a time, and even long words by starting back over on the left side. Just remember to hit the space key at the bottom between each word, or you'll just keep adding to the same word. There's also a predictive text arrow that gives you possible replacements for a highlighted word, or a prediction for what your next word will be. If you'd rather use old-school T9 texting, just rotate the bezel once. As you type, you get a prediction at the top of what Samsung thinks your word is going to be. If you've already finished a word, it will give you a prediction for the next word. The predictions actually work pretty good, so definitely pay attention to this bar to speed up typing. If you want to go back and change or fix some text, just swipe your finger right or left on the text, then tap where you want to edit. Admittedly, this is quite a difficult process, especially when you're trying to get back to the end of the last word so you can continue writing. It's much easier just to hit the back button to see the whole message, then tap where you want to go from there. If you keep rotating the bezel, you'll get numbers, 5 batches of symbols, a ton of emojis, and more speech to text. You can also change the language here too by tapping the globe-looking thing. Lastly, if you go back to one of the other inputs, you'll get a settings shortcut that allows you to quickly change the type of keyboard from 3x4 to the satanic rotary keyboard, which I can guarantee no one has ever used in their entire lives unless they lost a terrible bet or they're demonstrating the painfulness of the input method like I am. You're welcome. Back in the settings, you can also change your input languages. There are far more languages for text recognition than voice recognition, 54 languages to be exact. You can check to see if any of your chosen languages have updates. Turn off the handwriting mode, which I showed you earlier. Turn on or off predictive text and auto spacing, as well as auto capitalization and auto punctuation. You can turn on sound and vibration feedback when you're typing. Reset the keyboard settings if you completely jack something up and you don't know how to fix it. And clear any personal data, which includes things like common strings of words that you type. This personalized data is how Samsung gives you accurate predictions for the next word in your sentence. The next message option you have is to quickly send a single emoji. Your 9 most recently used emojis will be at the top of the list, followed by a ton of other emojis down below. When you tap an emoji, it'll send just that emoji immediately. If you scroll all the way to the top, you'll see a doodle option. This lets you draw a small picture to send. You can undo or redo parts of your drawing by rotating the bezel left or right. When you send this image, the person will just get the completed image. They won't actually see an animation of the doodle. The last message option is to go straight to manual entry. This has all the same entry methods I showed you with the voice-to-text method. The only difference here is that you have to scroll to the end to use voice-to-text instead of it being your first option. And when you press the back button to see the whole message, it's in a box that shows you how many characters you have left. Don't worry though, once you pass 160 characters, it just switches to a multimedia message and uses your mobile data to send the message instead of sending it as a standard text. Taking a look back at the list of messages, you'll see 3 dots on the right. Tap those to get shortcuts to start a new message or delete entire conversations. You can also long press conversations to delete them. When you tap on a conversation, you can scroll through all the previous messages that have been sent and received while your Gear S3 has been connected to your phone. In other words, this won't show all the messages you received or sent before you got your Gear S3. If you double tap on the screen, it will make the text bigger. Double tap again to make it smaller. And a fun fact, you can do this in multiple places on your Gear S3, so if you're ever looking at some text and you want to make it bigger, try double tapping and it'll probably work. Long pressing on messages allows you to delete them. Tapping the 3 dots reveals a number of shortcuts. The first is to reply using any of the methods I showed you earlier. The second is to immediately call the person using the built-in mic and speaker on the Gear S3. The third is to send the person your GPS location, which is great for meeting up somewhere in a park, a city, or even at a campsite. The fourth is to open the text on your phone, and the fifth allows you to delete multiple messages at a time. You can also tap the blue circle and select or deselect all of the messages within the conversation. The phone app is pretty straightforward. When you open the app, you're met with a call log so you can quickly call someone back. If you tap a name or number, it'll give you the option to call or message them. If you tap the 3 dots, you can also delete that log. And if you swipe up from the bottom, you can see when you received and made calls to that person recently. If you back out to the main page, you can long press on a name to delete logs. You can also delete logs by tapping the 3 dots, then tapping delete. Scrolling all the way up reveals both a number pad for manually entering someone's number, or a contact shortcut which takes you to the Contacts app that I showed you earlier. The Alarm app lets you set alarms independent of your phone. In other words, your phone's alarms won't show up here, and any alarms that you set here won't show up on your phone. Whether that's good or bad is up to you. But don't worry, any alarms set on your phone will still go off on your Gear S3, you just won't see them in this app. Adding an alarm can be done with just a few taps and rotations of the bezel, and if you swipe from right to left, you can have it repeat on specific days of the week so you can use it as your drag your body out of bed and get to work alarm. Swipe across once more to reveal sound and vibration options. These allow you to have different ringtones and vibration patterns for different alarms. So you can have just a vibration for getting up in the morning if you're married and don't want to wake your spouse, and another one with sound and vibration for meeting reminders. To enable or disable alarms, just tap the alarm icon. To change the alarm's settings, tap the time. There are loads of things to do in the settings, so I'll try to cover it as fast as possible. The Style menu allows you to change your watch faces, turn on the Always On display, which I highly recommend because it makes the watch look that much cooler when you're not actively looking at it, turn on or off the yellow notification indicator that sits to the left of the watch face when you have unread notifications, change the background of all of your widgets and notifications, and choose from 4 different fonts as well as change the font size. The Sounds and Vibrations menu allows you to turn all sounds and vibrations on or off. You can also change the volume for the ringtone, media like your music or voice prompts from working out, notifications, and system sounds like tapping icons independently. You can also quickly mute any of these by tapping the speaker icon in the middle. And if you tap the ringtone speaker icon, you can switch between vibrate only, mute, and sound. You can also change the vibration intensity in this menu. I recommend strong so you can feel the notifications easier. Below that is a long buzz option for calls and notifications in case you wear your watch loose and want to make sure you feel the notification come in. Further down, there are 10 ringtones to pick from, 5 different vibration types for when you receive a call, 10 notification sounds with 5 vibration types of its own, and lastly, you can turn on or off the sounds that play when you tap items on the screen. In the device menu, you can change the shortcut when double pressing the home button to any app you have installed on your Gear S3, including third-party apps. You can also turn off the wake-up gesture, which turns your screen on when you rotate your wrist. Shutting this off means you'll either have to rotate the bezel or push one of the physical buttons to get the screen to turn on. Touch sensitivity allows you to use your Gear S3 with gloves on, which is an awesome feature to have in the winter. You can turn on Do Not Disturb mode manually, or make a schedule to turn it on or off automatically at different times. There's an Auto Open Apps feature that opens the highlighted app in your app screen if you focus on that app for a few seconds. And by focus, I mean keep it highlighted, not looking at it. If you're just looking at whatever app you want to open, it's not going to figure that out. There's no camera on this thing. Just figured I'd clear that one up because I know somebody was going to ask that question. And lastly, you can change the date and time manually. However, you can only change this setting when you're not connected to your phone through Bluetooth. If you are connected to your phone, the Gear S3 will get the date and time from your phone. In the display settings, you can change your brightness from 1 to 10. 7 seems to do the trick for me, especially since the Gear S3's screen automatically gets super bright in direct sunlight regardless of your brightness settings. You can also turn on auto low brightness, which will dim your screen when you're in a dark room. Lastly, you can change how long your screen will stay on when you're not doing anything with it. In the call settings, you get auto call forwarding, which will forward any calls that your phone receives to your Gear S3 so you can answer a call even when you left your phone at home. If you don't have the LTE version of the Gear S3, this will only work when you're connected to a wireless network. You can also change your outgoing number to either be your phone's number or your Gear S3's number that you got if you set up a phone plan for it. You can turn on voice answer, which allows you to answer or reject calls by saying answer or reject when a call comes in. You can choose to show or hide your caller ID when calling people from your Gear S3, enable call waiting, call your voicemail number to listen to your voicemail, and block unknown callers, or look at numbers that are already in your blocked list. The messages settings allow you to send a voice recording instead of translating your voice to text when sending a message, view your blocked numbers and messages, and turn on presidential emergency alerts, as well as reminders for those alerts. The Connections menu allows you to turn your Bluetooth, mobile networks, Wi-Fi, NFC, airplane mode, and location on and off, as well as enable AT&T number sync if you have AT&T, which merges your Gear S3's number with your phone's number so any calls that come in will go to both devices. This is different than call forwarding because your Gear S3 can still have a call come in even if your phone is off. You can also turn off the Bluetooth disconnect alerts that pop up when you're too far away from your phone and it loses Bluetooth connection. Lastly, you can turn mobile data on or off, set a data limit, set your data cycle, set the start date for that cycle, and see how much data you've used in your current cycle. In the Mobile Networks submenu, you can set the mobile network connection to turn on and off automatically when you connect or disconnect from your phone, enable or disable mobile data and roaming data, and change network operators, as well as access point names. The Security menu allows you to turn on or off a 4-digit PIN to unlock your Gear S3. The only times you need to enter this is when you first put your watch on, or when you wake up in the morning and had the watch on while you slept. Then, once you take the watch off, it locks again so only you can get into it. The Accessibility mode has a few handy features for people who are vision or hearing impaired. If you can't see well, there's a screen reader mode which will read whatever's on the screen to you when you tap it. You can then double tap to act on whatever's highlighted. And if you're literally blind, you can turn on dark screen, which will turn the screen off completely and keep it off so you don't waste battery life. The other vision features are a zoom shortcut that's activated when you triple tap the screen, a grayscale mode, and a negative colors mode. For hearing accessibility, you can shut off all sounds, or turn on mono sound when connecting one headphone. This is good for someone who may be deaf in one ear, but wants to listen to stereo music. The last accessibility option is called Direct Access, and it simply turns screen reader mode on or off by triple tapping the screen with 2 fingers. This is good for people who would only need this mode when they take their contacts out at night. In the input menu, you can switch to any third-party keyboard you installed, and change any settings for that keyboard. I discussed the built-in keyboard settings when I reviewed the Messages app, so if you want to see those settings, jump back to that part of the review. Next, you can turn on power saving mode, which turns your screen to grayscale, shuts off Wi-Fi, mobile networks, as well as your apps and widgets, and limits performance. The only things you'll be able to do are send and receive messages, make and receive calls, get any notifications from your Bluetooth connected smartphone, and access your quick settings. To turn off power saving mode, just tap the word off on the watch screen. The gear info screen just shows you your IMEI, serial number, and all that boring stuff. But it also allows you to turn off diagnostic and usage reporting. Samsung uses this to find out why a device crashed and see how people use their smartwatches on a day-to-day basis to improve the next smartwatch. You can also factory reset your Gear S3 from this menu. This will completely erase everything so that your Gear S3 starts up like it's fresh out of the box. The last setting here is to turn on debug mode. Unless you're a developer or you want to sideload apps to your Gear S3, keep this off. And if you don't know what sideloading is, definitely keep this off. The last option in the settings is to connect your Gear S3 to a new device. The nice part about this is that only your apps are removed when connected to a new device. All of your personal data, images, and music won't be deleted. The S Health app is pretty powerful. When you first open it, you get an overview of the current day with your total calories burned. If you tap this image, you'll see how much time you spent exercising, moving in general, and sitting. If you tap the overview details, you can go back and look at the details for previous days. When you turn the bezel, you can see even more details about different activities throughout the day. This will even show you your time spent sleeping. Blank areas are just times when you weren't wearing the watch. If you back out to the main S Health screen and rotate the bezel clockwise, you'll see your total steps for the day with a pyramid that fills up as you get closer to your daily steps goal. At the bottom, you'll see check marks on the days that you met your goal in the current week. If you tap this screen, you can see how many steps you took on previous days. Green bars are days that you met your goal, and gray bars are days that you failed at life. Turning the bezel clockwise again from the main screen shows you your floors tracker that fills up a slightly different looking pyramid as you get closer to your goal for the day. Every 10 feet counts as a floor, so just because you climbed a small flight of stairs doesn't mean you'll get credit for a full floor climbed. It does count hills though. As long as you move vertically 10 feet, you'll get credit for a floor. Unless you're in an elevator. Trust me, I tried multiple times and it definitely doesn't work. Tapping this screen shows you how many floors you've climbed in recent days. Rotating the bezel once more allows you to start a workout. If you hit the play button, the Gear S3 will automatically start tracking the same type of workout you tracked most recently. If you want to change exercises, just tap the exercise itself, tap activity type, then select one of the preset exercises. You can choose from running, walking, cycling, hiking, elliptical trainer, exercise bike, step machine, treadmill, lunges, crunches, squats, star jumps, Pilates, yoga, rowing machine, and other workout if you're doing something that doesn't fit into any of these categories. At the time of making this video, these categories are fixed, so you can't add or take away from them. Hopefully that will change with a future update, but I doubt it. Once you've selected an exercise, you get a few options depending on which workout you're doing. With crunches, you can set a workout duration, do a basic workout which just goes on until you stop, or set a reps total. You can do up to 10 sets with up to 99 reps per set. The cool part about this is that not only will the Gear S3 show you a picture of the proper form, but it will also track your reps for you and will vibrate on your wrist when you reach the rep count. It'll then have you rest for a minute between reps, then vibrate again to let you know when to start again. I have a love-hate relationship with this because it won't count a half or even a 3/4 crunch. You have to do a full crunch to get it to count, so there's no cheating your way through this exercise. This exercise assistance works for crunches, lunges, squats, and star jumps. Running gets its own special tracker called Pace Setter that will help you set an appropriate pace for a variety of different goals ranging from light jogging to endurance training to speed training. Once you select a pace, you can see a graph of how exactly it'll set your pace throughout the duration of the workout. The last tracking feature is distance. This works with walking, running, and cycling, but won't work with the elliptical or even the treadmill. And since the Gear S3 has a built-in GPS, it'll also show you a map of your route when you look at the workout results on your phone, even if you didn't bring your phone with you on the workout. If you'd rather not track your location for some reason, you can turn that off at the workout settings screen. Below that, you can also enable or disable auto pause, which will automatically pause and resume your workouts when you stop to take a break for a minute. Below that is a guide at intervals option, which will audibly tell you how your workout is going during different intervals. At the very bottom of the exercise settings, there's a log that shows you all of your recent exercises, and if you tap one, you get more details about that exercise. While you're working out, you get a variety of information on your wrist. If you're running, you'll get the duration, your distance traveled, calories burned, pace, speed, cadence, and heart rate. If you tap the bottom part of the screen, you can change which one of these trackers will always be visible. All the way to the left is a shortcut for your music controls. And if you press the back button while on the workout screen, you can pause or resume your workouts. If you're using the pace setter feature, you'll also get a colored circle that shows you the upcoming zones of the workout. As you progress through the workout, the circle turns green. If you're doing a repetition-based workout like crunches, you'll get your rep count and time, but none of the other trackers since those don't apply to that type of workout. Scrolling to the right in the S-Health app once more on the main screen reveals your ranking for how many steps you take during a week compared to all other S-Health users, and shows you how many active challenges you have going. If you tap this screen, you can see more details about your active challenges, and see how your weekly step count compares to people in your age group, all users, or any friends you have that also use the S-Health app. Tap one of these comparisons to see a graph with more details about how your averages compare to everyone else's. Scrolling to the right again shows you your most recent heart rate measurement and allows you to take another one by tapping the heart rate graph. Tapping the heart rate itself will show you all the previous recorded heart rates. Scroll right again to see your water intake for the day and add or subtract to that number. Tap the glass itself to see your water intake for previous days. To the right of the water intake is caffeine intake, which works the same way. All the way to the right is the S-Health settings. Here you can update your profile. Your gender, height, weight, and age are the important things to add here because that's how S-Health determines not only how many calories you're burning, but also how much distance you cover with each step and what your target heart rate should be when you're working out. You can also set unit preferences here. Health nudges are notifications that pop up to remind you to be more healthy. You can have one to remind you to move around every hour, a few to let you know if you're on track to reach your goals or if you've met your goals, one for exercise results, another to let you know how well you slept, and a weekly summary notification that's an overview of your overall health activities throughout the week. By the way, the Gear S3 has automatic sleep tracking. Just wear the watch when you go to sleep, and you'll get a notification when you get up in the morning showing you how well you slept. Unless you turn that nudge off, then you won't get that notification. Workout detection will automatically detect various types of workouts without you having to do anything. Once you've been doing an activity for at least 10 minutes, it will open up the S-Health app on the Gear S3 and start tracking your workout. This does count the initial 10 minutes of activity, but your heart rate doesn't start recording until after the first 10 minutes. The Gear S3 can detect the differences between walking, running, cycling, elliptical, and rowing. If you aren't doing any of those, it classifies your workout as dynamic. And if you know that you will never be doing some of those exercises, you can turn off the detection for them to make sure your Gear S3 doesn't accidentally think you're doing the wrong exercise. Further down in the settings, you can change your targets for steps, floors, and water intake, as well as set a caffeine limit, and turn on or off automatic heart rate measurements. The Gallery app is where you'll find any photos that you push to your Gear S3 from your phone, or any screenshots that you took on your Gear S3 by holding the home button and swiping from left to right on the screen. Tapping the three dots lets you either delete pictures or send them to your phone. Tapping on a photo shows you a full preview, and double tapping zooms in. DirecTV is just some bloatware app that AT&T throws on their Gear S3s. This just gives you some TV controls, and since I don't have DirecTV, I can't show you anything here but how to delete it. Long press on the screen, tap on DirecTV, then tap the checkmark. Digital Life is an AT&T smart security and home automation system that you have to pay monthly for. Again, more bloatware, so I'll delete that too. The Weather app shows you the weather at your current location, as well as any other locations you set up. Tapping on a location gives you an extended forecast with extra details like sunset and sunrise times, as well as the UV index. To add cities, just scroll all the way to the right, tap Add City, then enter the details on your phone. The World Clock app just shows you the time in different parts of the world. Tapping on a time zone shows you that time zone on a map, how far ahead or behind they are compared to your current location, and the sunrise and sunset times in that time zone. Tapping Change does exactly what you think it does. The Music Player app lets you skip forward and backwards through your playlist by rotating the bezel right or left. You can also use the touch controls if you prefer. Tapping the speaker icon lets you change the volume or quickly mute the music by tapping on the bigger speaker icon in the middle. You can also quickly switch between controlling the music on your phone or the music saved directly on your Gear S3 by tapping the icon in the upper right. Swiping up from the bottom reveals your full playlist to skip to a specific track. The playlist works with Samsung's built-in music app, as well as Google Play Music, but I couldn't get it to work with any other third-party apps. As for the basic music control features, those work with any app that plays music on your phone. You can even control the playback on the YouVersion Bible app. So yeah, I'd say any third-party app should work. The S-Voice app is Samsung's voice assistant that can do things like call or message different contacts, tell you what the weather is, set reminders and timers, and so on. It's basically a dumbed-down version of Google Now. Unfortunately, you can't get Google Now on the Gear S3, so you're stuck with S-Voice. You can set up a custom wake-up command to start S-Voice with just your voice. By default, it's set to Hi Gear, but you can change it to whatever you want. You can also change the voice recognition language to a number of different languages, turn on or off voice feedback, which is when S-Voice talks to you through the speaker, and reset S-Voice. The Reminders app is a place where you can set up or check any reminders you have. Tapping on one toggles it between complete or unfinished. To delete them, just long press on one, then select the tasks you want to delete. Or you can tap the three dots and quickly clear all of the completed tasks. When you create a new task, you can speak the task and it'll be converted to text. Or you can tap in the text area and enter the task details manually. The altimeter barometer app shows you a dial reading of the current altitude and pressure, as well as a graph of your altitude and pressure over the last 6 hours. The altimeter has a calibration option to give you more accurate reading. What's great about this is that if you're off on calibration all day, the calibration will back calibrate all of the previous readings so you don't have a sudden jump or drop in the graph. Tapping the numbers will toggle the altimeter measurement from feet to meters, and the barometer from hectopascals to inches of mercury. At the bottom of the barometer, you'll see a forecast of pressure levels for your current location. Scrolling all the way to the right reveals options to manually calibrate the altitude and sea level pressure, set up pressure alerts that will notify you when the pressure drops by more than 4 hectopascals within a 3-hour period, select your preferred units, and get help understanding the graphs and symbols. The Schedule app shows a calendar that you can scroll through. Tapping the calendar will either take you back to the current month, or take you to a schedule view that shows you all of your upcoming appointments for the rest of the week. If you tap one of the events, you can see the time and location of the event, as well as any notes for the event. If you tap a location, it'll open a map that'll show you where the event is. But the app falls short here because you can't navigate or get any information besides seeing the location on a map and being able to scroll around. Samsung definitely dropped the ball here on what could have been a very useful feature. News Briefing shows you news from Flipboard. Tapping on an article gives you a bit more info, then you can tap the phone icon at the bottom to open the full article on your phone. If you want to jump straight to the article on your phone, just tap the 3 dots on the right, then tap the phone icon. Sometimes the headlines are actual YouTube video titles, so you'll be taken to YouTube instead of a news site. You can also tailor the news you get by tapping the 3 dots on the right, then tapping Select Topic. There are a good amount of broad topics to help you get just what you care about. Back in the main menu, you can also refresh the news if you want to check for new articles, or select a region that you want to get news about. Find My Phone does just that. It helps you find your phone by making it ring, vibrate, and turn its screen on, even if you have your phone set to silent. The Email app lets you see any emails you have synced with your Samsung Email app. This app won't work with Gmail or any other third-party email apps. It has to be Samsung's app. I personally prefer Samsung's app, but I know that some people might not like it. The colored dots tell you which account the email is from. To see a single account, tap the 3 dots, select View by Account, then select the account. The header will change to show you the selected email account, and the colored dots will disappear. You can also view only starred emails if you just want to see the important ones. Tapping on an email will let you read the email, then you can tap the 3 dots again to reply to the email, star it, show it on your phone, or delete it. Scrolling to the bottom of the email also gives you a reply option. Replying to an email works exactly like sending a message, so if you want to see all the keyboard options, go back to the Review of the Messages app. Once you've read an email, it'll show up darker to signify that it's been read. If there are any attachments on the email, there will be a notification at the bottom of the email telling you how many there are. If it's a photo, you'll be able to open it, but Word documents, PDFs, and most other file types can't be opened. To delete emails, just long press 1, select all the emails you want to delete, then tap Delete. The last pre-installed app is Samsung Pay, which is by far the coolest app on the watch. Opening this app will just show you how to activate Samsung Pay, but once it's activated, you'll be able to make payments at most stores that accept regular credit card payments, even the old school ones. To be clear, you don't need NFC or a tap-to-pay card reader to use this. The watch generates an electromagnetic field that simulates a real credit card swipe when you hold your Gear S3 near a credit card reader. This even works with mobile readers like Square Pay. Bear in mind, this doesn't work 100% of the time. There are some really old school readers that it won't work on, and I'm not sure why. It also won't work on readers where you have to insert your card like at an ATM or a gas station. Scrolling all the way to the end of the app screen reveals a Get More Apps icon that shows you 15 suggested apps that you can download right from the watch. You can, of course, open the full Gear App Store on your phone if you want to see more details about the apps. Like the video if you liked it, share it if you loved it, and subscribe for more. And while you're waiting for the next video to drop, why not check out one of these 2 videos on your screen? That's it for this episode. I'll see you guys in the next one.